Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in on another episode here on YouTube. What I'm going to show you today is how to edit your photos. So in was it the last couple videos I mentioned about learning how to compose your photos, learning how to frame your photos, and today what I'm going to show you is how to edit them. I know I've been behind on some of the YouTube videos, but recently I've been traveling, and so my apologies in releasing new videos. But today I'm going to show you how to quickly edit your photos from using iPhone or any type of cameras that you're using, because I mentioned last video that the iPhone or phone camera nowadays are actually really good. And so all my travel recently I've been using just strictly iPhone. I didn't bring my mirrorless, and so here are some of the photos that you see. I'm gonna that were taken with iPhone, and I'm actually gonna show you how to edit them on Adobe Lightroom. So it's just easier for screen recording on my PC on the Apple iMac here, but you're more than welcome to edit on the phone. I also do it as well using the Lightroom Mobile app. And so today we're gonna go over some of the editing tools and just how to quickly edit your photos so then they look good and you can post them on social media. Okay, so with that being said, let's go right into it. So if you have Adobe Lightroom, when you first open it, you see a bunch of all these things right here that could confuse you. So one of the first thing that I do is actually just close all of it, or I minimize the screen here, so that way you know what you're working on or working with. So majority of my editing work is done on the basic right here. I know it said basic, but I can just show you quickly that just with minimal editing, it can actually change your picture and make it look completely different or drastically change. So we're gonna go straight into it. So you click on basic here. This is your white balance tool, but in this case, taken with iPhone, the white balance is actually really good. I always tell people, if you don't know what it is, just play around with it, and then you can see it over here is strictly super yellow, and you move it here strictly blue. Double click on it, it will actually go back to the middle. So like I said, some cameras, like let's say Sony, or even sometimes when I take with my Canon, sometimes the white balance is different. I would change it, but in this case, white balance looks pretty good. The sky's blue, color-wise, it looked correct, so I don't mess with that. The next is exposure. I would say almost always when I take photos with my iPhone, I always would have to increase the exposure to make it brighter. I like my photos to be bright, and so in this case, I'm going to increase the exposure a little bit here. The contrast, I usually don't play with it as much because I think a lot of photos taken, there's plenty of contrast, but if you like it, you can go a little bit. Again, if you don't know what it is, just go all the way to the right and all the way to the left. In this case, I would add, let's say, +5. And then the highlight is usually the spots that are white, or in this case the sky. If you want more details than that, you can more than lower it down. As you can see the sky right there, you can kind of get more as well as from the cloud. You get more details from that. So if you lower it down too much, the image becomes a little bit flat. And so in this case, I do want some more details on the cloud. I just slightly lower it down, halfway. Shadow. I always like more shadow on my, as you can see here, if I increase a little bit, you can kind of see more light on my son's face right there. So I increase it a little bit. I do like more shadow. Same thing with the white. Sometimes when you carry it all the way down here and it's too flat, you can increase the white to balance it out. But in that case, let me see here, I'm gonna increase just a little bit. And the black, again, black to me is very similar to contrast, just where the dark spots are. You can add more to make it more balance out by having whites and dark spot. In this case, I don't want a lot of dark because I want my photos to be bright, and so I'm going to increase that, let's say 25% or so, okay, or +25. Textures, going down here, or just details, how texture you want your image to be, or how blurry. So in this case, let's say you want skin soft, you can lower your texture a little bit here. I'll lower a little bit. Or you want more details that you do shooting a product or something, you want more texture on your image, then you increase it. But for me, because I'm taking portraits, I want the skin, I would do like -4, 5, 6 or something like that. Clarity is almost the same as texture. It's just how sharpness, how detailed that would be. And so as you can see, I actually don't play around with this for clarity for portraits, and so I leave it as is. Dehaze, to be honest, I don't know what the dehaze mean, but just by playing with it, you know, it looks like, you know, it's like contrast, you know, adding in more details on the colors and just and so, you know, if you want to play with it, just go a little bit. To be honest, I'm not like the expert in Lightroom. I just play with the tools, and then, you know, I just kind of see what's, you know, the extreme and what's the light, and then just play with it. Some of these tools, to be honest, I've not even used, and so Lightroom can go pretty extensive, and so play around with it is what I tell everybody. Even on the camera settings too, I still don't even know all my camera settings. I know most of them to be able to capture really you know, good images, but everything, to be honest, the features and the tools that they have are very extensive, and so sometimes you really don't need everything, but if you do, you know, you're more than happy to read all of it. So vibrance, of course, that is deal with colors, and so, you know, you increase, as you can see, I increase a little bit. The sky is blue, so I do like more vibrance on my iPhone photos. Sometimes I find it to be a little bit flat, and so I do like more vibrant. Okay, so that is just the basic area right here, you know, the basic screen, just to play around with the photos. And as you can see, actually I want a little bit brighter. Already the image is coming out a little bit more and more colors. You know, there's more colors in the sky. If actually I'm going to do before and after, so you can kind of see it right here. Let's see. Look at that. This is the original when we take it with the iPhone, and this is slightly edited using just the basic tool area. Okay, so majority of the time, you know, if I'm you know, I don't have a lot of time, I would just go through and just play with the basics. Of course, when I do my professional work, then I work with the tone curve, HSL, split toning details. I'll go into it a little bit more, but as you can see, just playing with the basic screen right here, it already allows you to make your image, you know, much brighter, a little bit more details coming out, more shadow. And so just that, I mean, just learn that portion of it. I think it's going to be helpful. And on your Lightroom mobile app, it's very simplified as well. So you do get to play around with all this. So as you can see there, so that's one of the image. I'll edit another image here of my you know, my wife and kid recently in Lake Tahoe, and then I'll do before and after for you guys as well. So we're gonna go over again, starting with the white balance. To me, white balance looks pretty good. Sometimes, you know, when you take the photos, it's like yellow like this, then you would move it, you know, add more blue to it. But in this case, like I mentioned, the iPhone white balance is actually pretty good, so I don't really touch much with it. But like I said, the exposure, I always want my photos to be more brighter than how it should be. iPhone tend to take a little bit darker, so I do increase that brightness to it. Contrast, just a little bit. My highlight, I want more details in the sky, so I'm going to pull it down a little bit right there. I do want more shadow. As you can see, my kids there actually, and also my wife, I do want more details coming from there. So I'm going to increase my shadow a little bit. As you can see, the shadow is coming up. I don't want it too much now, it looks just too crazy. So maybe from there is pretty good for me. And that white, I'm going to increase a little bit because I decreased that shadow, I mean highlight here. And then black, I do want more shadow, so I'm good. There's plenty of dark spots, so I want my image bright, so I'm going to increase the black. Texture, again, with portraits, I do pull it down a little bit here. Clarity, I don't touch. Dehaze, if you do want to, you can make more details on the colors and the skies and everything. So sometimes you don't have to touch it if you don't need to. So from there, and then vibrance, like I mentioned, I do want my photos more colorful. And so I do increase a little bit. I don't go like too extreme as you can see here, but just a little bit. Everything just a little bit I think helps, and you know, that's pretty much it. And just as quick as you can see there, and look at the before and after. You see, it's just more details, just very simplified. And then I would apply it on all the photos. Okay, so that's just the basic portion of it. I'm gonna go down next to the tone curve. Again, if you want to, you can close all the other ones so you know you're only working with this. To be honest, I don't play around with the tone curve so much, but it's very just more you know, advanced, more extensive than what you could find in the basic. Like highlight, you can play with highlight a little bit more, but again, play with it, see, because every photo is a bit different in terms for the lighting condition. And so I can show you this photo, but it could be different on the next one. You might have to readjust it. But I don't play around much with it. But if you do, as you can see here, I think it's better lower the light a little bit here, and the dark spot I can increase here, shadow, but very minimal. If I were to touch it, I don't go crazy extreme. So I would close the tone curve. Next is the color. I do play a lot in this area, especially the orange, because you know, under the basic, when we increase color, everything increase, including if you look at the faces, sometimes it's too much color on the face. And so what under color enable you to do, let me close this, so then we're only working on the was it HSL and the color. I actually decrease saturation. Saturation is just more color, and so I just decrease the orange a little bit because that's where the skin is. I don't want to increase it because I think it's too much, but majority of the time I actually decrease this thing to about -10 or so. Okay, and then everything else I don't really touch unless it's too much color and I find it too much. I would leave it as is. So this is saturation where you can play with every single color. And then here you can actually play with the color, so you can make it, you know, changing the color and make it a little bit aqua on the sky, just so then, as you can see, you know, I don't want it purple, I don't want it, you know, too yellow, but I do want it lower a little bit here, and then double click on this. Okay, so that way, you know, the sky is just a little bit more turquoise, you know, color. I kind of like that. And then luminous is like, you know, how brightness, you know, the color you want it to be. So in this case, you can test like blue. You want it really blue. That will take away the color of the sky is really blue. But majority of the time, I do want this yellow orange, just because skin. I do want bright skin, but I don't want too much. So I'm going to increase just a little bit here, as you can see right there. And so, and I'm good with this color area. You can play around with more of it, you know, with the yellow, you can add more, you know, however that you want it. But this is the area where, like, you know, where you can actually change, you know, brightness of the color, or you can desaturate a certain color, you know, more extensive. You don't have to play with this if you want to. The only thing that I normally play with are the saturation of the orange, because I want the skin less saturated. I also increase the brightness of the orange right here as well for the skin color. Okay, so I'm going to close that. Split toning. This is where you can make, you know, special effects in the color. As you can see here, just a different tone, feel of it, you know, however that you want. But normally when I edit my iPhone photos, I really don't touch it. I just keep it as actually original. So I don't touch it, but if you want to, you're more than welcome to play around with it to see what you like. Okay, we're going to close that. Close split toning. And then details. Details are how sharp your image are. And some of my friends say, hey Tuan, how come your image is very sharp? And that's because I actually add sharpness to the photo. So I actually add sharpen, you know, maybe, you know, around 50 or so. And then as you can see here, you add more sharpness, there's actually a lot of noise. You can see in the face here, there's a bunch of noise here. So adding 50, but I also got to reduce that noise, so then it balances it out. So I would actually put 50% or at 50 here for the noise. So as you can see here, it smoothed that out. Okay, how different that would be if I were not to touch anything. As you can see, you can still see noise there. So I increase 50. I also do noise reduction 50. So now the image is very smooth. It's sharp, but the detail is there. It's not like too smooth where you don't want it like extra smooth where it looks fake, but enough so that way it's you know, good and sharp and soft. Okay, so that's it for the details. Lens correction is more extensive. You know, enable profile. Sometimes, you know, the Apple, as you can see here, is slightly changed. So I can enable the profile, so that way Lightroom correct the frame and collect the lens corrections to auto correct it. And you don't have to do it, but if you want to, you're more than welcome to. Transform is like, you know, you want to play with, you know, stretching stuff out, etc. I usually don't even touch it. And then the effect, or like the vignetting, you know, you want to make the trim a little bit darker. I don't touch that. I used to when I started photography, but now I like to just keep the image the way it is. Sometimes I do play with it for black and white photos, but other than that, I tend to just keep it as is. And the calibrations are different colors. I don't touch it. And so pretty much that's, so like for this, I'm actually pretty happy with this. So look at my before and after. Okay, so as you can see on Facebook, this is how I would edit the photos. And so if I do like this, let's say the next one and this one, let's say my next photo here, if I do like this, I click previous at the bottom here, it's actually going to copy the same setting as my previous image over. Okay, so whatever that I edit, it copies exactly over, and then from there I just do minimal editing. So in this case, a little bit flat, and so I would actually decrease the shadow here, there's too much shadow, I decrease that and I increase contrast. My face is a little bit dark, so I'm going to use the brush tool on top here, brush tool, and I actually increase the exposure a little bit because I want my face to be a little bit brighter. Okay, so that's it. And then the next one, like for example, this is one of the images. As you can see, I asked somebody to help me take it, and they got a bunch of headroom here. And so what I'm going to do is first I'm going to crop the image. So this is the cropping tool. I'm going to crop it so it's a little bit nice balance. And I also want this lady right here on the left hand. I also want to get rid of her. So crop it down a little bit more so that it's a nicely balanced photo in one of my videos that I mentioned. Okay, so I'm going to click that. And then here you can see me edit real fast here. Okay. Okay. Not getting too much color, so don't touch tone curve, split tone color. Okay. And lower the orange, maybe a little bit yellow. And then I do want my face to be a little bit brighter, same with my kids. I don't touch split toning, but the details I do want 50, and then I do like that. Okay, so I'm happy with that. As you can see, pretty quick. And then my before and after. You see, the same thing as how I would post it on Facebook. Same thing here. Let's do this one. I'm going to click previous because whatever that works. So if you click previous, it's going to copy the same setting. What that means, also copy that cropping. So you got to fix it after that. Okay, so you fix it. I find the image a bit too cool, so I do add. Now this is where I would play with the temperature a little bit here, the white balance. Okay, and go back and fix your image however that you like it. Because like I said, see here the dehaze kind of work. Look at it. Look at that. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Okay, so like that, and I'm pretty happy with that. And look at the before and after. Look at that. So very simple. All right. Okay, and then this is one of the images that we did in Thailand. So as you can see here, there's too much headroom in here, as in one of my videos I mentioned. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crop it. So I'm going to just like that, for example. There. I'm good with that. And this lady here, I don't want her, so I'm going to use this clone tool. I actually heal, and I click that, and I'm going to copy next to this. Boom, she's gone. See that? Okay, and then I'm going to quickly edit like how I showed you guys earlier. Increase the white. Clarity. Texture, I'm going to lower a little bit. Color. And lower the orange, and increase this. I do want my picture a little bit brighter, so. Okay, and then go down to details. Okay, oop, that's too fake. So sometimes you go too much, it's going to make it too soft, so you don't want to do it too much right there. And I do want my face and my wife's face and the kid to be a little bit brighter. So what I do is I use this brush tool, click on top this brush, add the exposure, and then and then I can go back here, and if I need to fix anything, I can always fix it. So in this case, I want more contrast or something like that. Okay, and that's pretty much it. Look at this. Oops. Oops. Let's see here. There you go. You see? So original, and this is edited. As you can see here, it's very dark, but look, after the edit, it's I think it's nicer. And so that's pretty much it, for editing. And so if you guys have any questions, you're more than happy to reach out to me. But I keep it pretty simple. I don't want to do it too much. I still want to keep everything real as what it is. Just brighten things out a little bit just to make it a bit nicer. And so I hope that helps you guys in terms of editing. Like I mentioned, don't spend too much on upgrading the new gears. Invest your time and energy, learn how to edit your photos. Invest your energy, learn how to frame the photos so you can take it so it's a bit more balanced. And then just practice editing because it actually makes the photos look much better. Again, these are just iPhone photos. but they look pretty stunning, and I'm actually happy with the quality of it. So if you guys are like this, find it helpful, go ahead and share it with your friends, like, subscribe, and then I'll see you in my next YouTube video. All right? Okay, take care. Bye-bye.